India Open Data Summit organized by Open Knowledge India. Thanks Vidula Bhattacharya. She is a very young and very talented director. Thanks to Mr. Rajiv Ghoshal, who has come all the way from Bakura to attend this seminar. And we apologize for the delay we had because there had been some technical problems. Okay, so hello and welcome to today's summit. We have been talking about open data for some time now. But what exactly is open data and how is it important to the human civilization? What if I tell you that open data is as important as human civilization itself, and it's as old as human civilization itself? Let me show you the story of human evolution to get to the point. Can anybody tell me whose skeleton is this, whose skull is this? Does it belong to Homo sapiens sapiens, that means us, modern humans, or does it belong to any other species? Can anybody tell me? Well, let me tell you that it does not belong to Homo sapiens sapiens, but it belongs to Homo sapiens neanderthalis. Homo sapiens neanderthalis is a hominid species. That means they are very much human, but not modern human. They became extinct only about 28,000 years ago. They were better equipped than us in many ways, in various ways. Like our cranial capacity, the brain capacity that we have is around 1200 cc. 1200 centimeters cube, but Neanderthals had a capacity of, on average, of 1600 cc. So they had a bigger brain. Again, they were more robust. If we go to the next slide, we will see that a Neanderthal man, the left one is a Neanderthal man, and the right one is modern human, us. You can see from the skeleton, the comparison between the two skeletons, that they had a bigger skull. Visibly bigger skull. They had smaller shoulders. They had a big pelvic girdle, right? This is the reconstruction of a Neanderthal man. You can see from the picture, from the reconstruction, that they looked very much like us. They were not much different, right? Then how did they become extinct? Whereas we lived on. Until about 28,000 years ago, 28,000 years from today, we coexisted with the Neanderthals, actually with many other hominid species. But we lived on to see this day, but they became extinct. Let me clarify this a bit. Take the example of the discovery of fire. If say a human being, a modern human, discovered fire, they had this open data system among them. They lived in societies. They lived in big societies. So if one of the members, they discovered fire, that could spread like wildfire, if I am supposed to say that, that spread like wildfire to all parts of the society. So knowledge was something which was distributed, well distributed. It was nobody's property, and it was again, at the same time, everyone's property. Whereas the Neanderthals, they sadly lived in smaller societies. They were more, if I'm allowed to say, they were more egocentric. That means what? They used to live in very small groups. So just imagine a small group of Neanderthals that discover fire. How would you imagine that it would spread? It would take about 1 lakh years, maybe 50,000 years, for that knowledge to impregnate all parts of the Neanderthal strata, but not with the human beings, not with the modern humans. This was the primary reason. This was the primary reason that Neanderthals became extinct, whereas we lived on. So this goes to show that, this is a very small example which goes to show that open data is not something new. It's not a very new concept, though it might seem to be that, but it's actually as old as the human civilization itself. Okay, this says that the last Neanderthal lived as late as 28,000 years ago. Now that's a blink of an eye if you look at the evolutionary history of human beings. Our history, our evolutionary history is about 350,000 years, not more than that. The dinosaurs lived, they became extinct about 63 crore years ago, whereas we lived on now. and Neanderthals became extinct only 28,000 years ago. So we coexisted with them, you know, just a moment ago. If we look at the geological history of the world, next comes the hominid brain attained its maximum size till date in the Neanderthals. Now this is a very, very important point. We have this, how many of you have this belief that the human brain is still growing? If you look at the Homo erectus was the first hominid species to walk upright. That's why the name erectus. Starting from Homo erectus, the brain size started increasing until it reached its minimum, its peak with the Neanderthals. It was around 1650 cc. Then it started shrinking. Actually, our human brain, the human brain is shrinking for the last 30,000 years. Instead of increasing in size, it's shrinking actually. Now this might come as a shock to some people, but that doesn't make much of a difference because we have learned to live in societies. We have learned to be more connected with each other, right? So, say one of the scientists, they discover something that is impregnated into the society very fast, and the best way to do it is through open science. We will talk about that later during the day. But the point is that we have learned to use our brains, we have learned to distribute our brains throughout the society and live as a whole. We live as a whole. We live as a single organism with a very gigantic brain. If you take the example of the people sitting in this room, we are all using our brains for doing, for solving a given problem, say. So we can actually use our brains together. We can actually use our brains together to solve the puzzle. The Neanderthals couldn't. So this is how open data can help us. This is another slide which shows the hominid species. The first one is a chimpanzee. The first skull is that of a chimpanzee, whereas the fourth one is that of a Neanderthal. The third one is Homo erectus. The fifth one is Homo sapiens sapiens, that means us. We can see from the comparison also that the left one is Homo sapiens, the right one is Homo neanderthalis. The brain case is significantly bigger, significantly larger on the right half of the picture, and they had larger mandibles. They had more power, more physical strength, more mental strength. Still, they became extinct. Okay. So this is how we can say that open data is very important to the society. We would like to, with this, we conclude our opening part of the summit, and we would like to call upon the stage Ms. Bidula Bhattacharya and Mr. Rajiv Ghoshal to say a few words.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm obliged, and this is a very nice concept of this open data. I searched in the internet when I found about this event. So actually it is, it's a happening thing going around the world. So I congratulate Shubhajit Ganguly and wish him luck so that he can actually go further with this concept of open data, first time in our city, Kolkata. Thank you so much.
নমস্কার। এই সুন্দর দিনে আমরা পেয়ে গেছি আমাদের ওপেন নলেজ ইন্ডিয়ার সবচেয়ে কাছের মানুষ, যিনি ভারতবর্ষের বাংলাকে বেছে নিয়েছেন, বিশেষত এই কলকাতাকেই এই ওপেন নলেজ ইন্ডিয়ার যে নতুনভাবে শুভ উদ্বোধনের দিন উপস্থিত থাকতে পেরে সত্যি আনন্দ হচ্ছে। উনি যে ভারতবর্ষের মধ্যে বাংলাকে বিশেষভাবে গুরুত্ব দিতে চান, এর জন্য আমরা সকলে গর্বিত বোধ করছি এবং আমরা চাই এই বাংলার সুন্দরভাবে বাংলাকে আরও সুন্দর ডাটা প্রদান করে সকলের মনে আরও তার জায়গা আরও পাকা হোক। সকলকে শুভেচ্ছা জানিয়ে নমস্কার।
we would like to distribute a few trophies while our chief guests are on stage. First of all, I would like to call on stage Mrs. Supriya Sen, our mentor for open education in India. I would like to request Mr. Rajiv Ghoshal to give the trophy. And can we get a big hand for her? I would like to call upon stage next Ms. Priyanka Sen, who has been working for open education. Can we get a big hand for her? Yeah, a few words from Priyanka Sen.
I would like to thank Mr. Shubhajit Ganguly and Open Knowledge India to give me this great opportunity to work for this great cause. Thank you.
Next on stage would be our very own Tanmay Upadhyay. We are giving him the trophy for organizing this event, for helping us organize this event. Big hand for him, please. And we would like to request Ms. Vidula Bhattacharya to give out the trophy. Big hand for him. We'd like to thank our chief guests. Okay, big hand for them. We started out with a story. Let me tell you another story. Let's go back to medieval Europe. There was a Latin scholar of a great repute. His name was Erasmus. Now let's see what he has to say about books. Books were the revolutionary concept of that age, as open data is for this age. Let's see what he has to say. The advent of the printing press helped a lot in the democratization of knowledge and research in medieval Europe. The arrival of movable typing press introduced the era of true mass communication in the Western world, and this in turn altered the fabric of the society forever. It transformed people's lives by changing their relationship to information and knowledge. It also ultimately dislodged the Dark Ages. We know about the Dark Ages in Europe. It was the silent revolution brought about by the press, the printing press, that finally brought about the downfall of the Dark Ages in Europe. And it was not done by the use of sword, but the use of the most mighty sword in the world, the pen. Involving the general public and saving knowledge from the hands of a select few brought about a positive change in the human society. Print created the possibility of wide and rapid circulation of ideas. This opened up a new free world where ideas could be debated and discussed. Thus the foundation of modern scientific fervor was laid. Printing brought the ideas of thinkers, philosophers, and scientists closer to the common man and made new ideas more accessible. Now, I was talking about accessibility. Accessibility to the information, accessibility to knowledge, and accessibility for everyone. When we were talking about the story of Neanderthals, the Neanderthals became extinct, as I told you, because they couldn't communicate between each other. We can communicate better than them, so we lived on, whereas they became extinct. Print brought the ideas of thinkers, philosophers, and scientists closer to the common man and made new ideas more accessible. It is a matter of debate how thinkers like Isaac Newton could influence the thinking of the society without access to press. Imagine Sir Isaac Newton discovering the laws of gravity, and he didn't have the help of the printing press. Imagine what effect he would have on the society. After Sir Isaac Newton, Galileo died the very year, in 1690. Galileo died in 1692, and Newton was born in 1693, only 1 year after Galileo. But the world changed after Newton, and never to be back to the dark ages again. And that was only possible because knowledge was distributed, was freely distributed through the printing press. It would be superfluous to mention how true scientific debate started only after the invention of the printing press. The writings of thinkers outside the central sphere of science, like Thomas Paine, Voltaire, Jacques Rousseau, etc., also went a long way in shaping the world as we know it today. However, in their time, the first printing presses were mostly viewed with skepticism. As I was talking about, they were not welcomed with open arms, but they were viewed with skepticism. Barring a few handful, most influential people opposed it. The holier-than-thou expressed their fears that the world would come to an end if they let the common people use print. Even those who welcomed the print were apprehensive of the ill effects that wider circulation of ideas through print could have on the world. Rulers and religious heads feared that if they did not control the printing material, their authority would vastly diminish. They wanted to have total control over what was to be printed. Now this is a very, I would say, a very tacky misconception that the holier-than-thou people have. They harbor that unless they look after the world will come to an end tomorrow. But that is never the case. And the world progresses only when these people are subjugated and the power goes to the people, the common men. In the words of Erasmus, as I was talking about, I mentioned Erasmus before starting my speech. In the words of Erasmus, a Latin scholar and a Catholic reformer, to what corner of the world do they not fly? These swarms of books. It may be that one here and one there contributes something worth knowing, but the very multitude of them is hurtful to the scholarship because it creates a glut, and even in good things, satiety is most harmful. He meant the printers fill the world with books, not just trifling things such as I write perhaps, but stupid, ignorant, slanderous, scandalous, raving, irreligious, and seditious books. And the number of them is such that even the valuable publications lose their value. So the fear in those days where true scholarship will be lost in the clutter of false scholarship brought about by the printing press. Can anybody tell me, can anybody answer this question, please? What was the first book that was printed? What was the first book that was ever printed?
The Bible.
Yeah, very good. Your name is? Yeah, Pranjal. Yeah, you're right. So the Bible brought about, though the Bible was a religious book, but after that they had chapbooks. In England, they had chapbooks. They were very, cheap books that used to be printed. They were not of a very, good volume, but they could be distributed, mass distributed, and that actually brought about this change in Europe, in industrial England, and from there the change started all over Europe. Erasmus's fear pretty much sums up the apprehensions of today's intellectual elites and printing powerhouses. In today's world too, the internet has brought about a transformation of the society. This is a tool that can be used for free dissemination of knowledge and of research. Pranjal, can you tell me in which year was the internet invented? You don't remember. By whom? Can you tell us by whom, Pranjal? Yeah, by whom? If you can tell us the country also, that would be okay. Yeah, it was in America and was actually not meant for the public. It was meant for military use, only for military use. But see what the internet did to this society. See, everything changed. Society has changed, forever because of the internet. And why was that change brought about? Because there we are in the midst of a second revolution, second evolutionary revolution, I would like to say. This similar revolution that separated us from the Neanderthals, we are in the midst of another revolution of that sort. So we are actually growing as a species. We are not only growing as human beings, but we are evolving as a species too. Erasmus is, okay, in today's world today, internet has brought about a transformation of the society. This is a tool that can be used for free dissemination of knowledge and of research. However, a few people even today tend to believe that free dissemination of research that results in free and fair debates and discussions of the works would bring about an end of the world situation for science. They are of the opinion that they ought to have as much control as possible over the dissemination of research works in order to keep the flag of science flying. These handful of people have the audacity to believe that they must be the chosen ones to boss over the whole of the scientific community. These are the people who oppose open science and open knowledge movements. Time has shown us how zero control by a handful of individuals over the society and a complete control of the community as a whole over itself brings about positive changes. We should elaborate on this point a little bit. We talk about the information age, right? How about if we talk about the knowledge age? The information in itself doesn't mean anything. Information is the information that we have are the ingredients for making the cake. Once you make the cake and you eat it, you have it, you assimilate it, then only it becomes knowledge. And in order to do that, the missing link is open data. The missing link between data and knowledge, between information and knowledge, is open data. Data that is freely accessible to everyone, data that is freely usable by everyone, and data that is machine readable. Less the control by the individuals or groups, and more the control of the complete set of individuals, more is the positive change. The history of the printing press is a case in point. While history made a mockery of the control freaks, it proved right the few individuals who believed in the intellectual capacity of the masses. Erasmus is history. Today Erasmus is history, but we actually learn about Gutenberg, don't we? We learn about Gutenberg and we don't love at him, but we have learned to love at Erasmus because he was the one who was left behind. The person who leaves himself behind or herself behind, the history doesn't remember that person. While history made a mockery of the control freaks, it proved right the few individuals who believed in the intellectual capacity of the masses. Intellectual Nazism, if I'm allowed to say so, intellectual Nazism should be a thing of the past, and we should move away from such self-defeating purposes. As more and more researchers embrace open practices, irrespective of the influence of any kind of authority and affiliations, a new free world of debate and discussions will truly open up. Positive open science movements have shown us how researchers can jump over all traditional deterrents and contribute positively towards the development of the scientific community as a whole. Here are a list of things that Open Knowledge India would like to pay more attention to in the coming days. Now we have, as many of you might know, we have 3 projects running. The most successful of them, thankfully actually, is the Open Education Project. I should mention that the Open Education Project was the precursor to any open education project in this country. The Open Education Project that is run by Open Knowledge India is the precursor to any open education project that is run in the country. We have a national repository. It's called the NROER, National Repository of Open Educational Resources. It's run by CBSE, and actually we help them shape that platform of open dissemination of books and educational materials, educational content. Push for open science and research practices in Indian research institutions. Open Knowledge India has been promoting open science and open research all over the world for quite some time now. In India, we have a lot of work to do in this respect. We have to involve more and more research bodies in the spirit of open science in order to see any considerable progress. Also, the encouraging individual researchers to practice open science too can go a long way in bringing about a change. More involvement of citizens in the spirit of open knowledge. Open Knowledge India is favored by the thousands of citizen activists all over the world who devote their time and energy to the common dream of a better informed world. In India, there is a lot of scope for involvement of the masses in order to work towards making ourselves a better managed nation. Take the example of the Wikipedia. How many of you here use the Wikipedia? Can you raise your hands, please? How many of you? Okay, we have only 3 people using Wikipedia, 4 people, not more than that, okay. That's very, I shouldn't say. How many of you have heard about Encyclopedia Britannica? Please raise your hands. And how many from this generation know about that name? Not many, okay. Actually, Encyclopedia Britannica is history. It no longer exists in the online world, on the internet. Why? Because there was a movement called the Wikipedia. It was run by the people, it was written by the people, it was edited by the people. Now, they lost their fears. The Indian culture teaches us to lose our fears. The people we actually worship in India, they teach us to lose our fears. That's the way to go. Wikipedians, they lost their fears early on, and they edited freely, they disseminated their knowledge freely, they built up a whole encyclopedia out of nowhere, and they actually dislodged this Encyclopedia Britannica and made it into history. So this is something very encouraging for us. Similarly, we can use the crowdsource, the power of the crowd, the power of the masses, people like you and I, the power of the masses, to run any engine, to run any open movement, to run any open engine, and that is bound to be a success. Because we should never lose hope. We keep on saying this, that we should never lose hope on human beings, right? But I should say that we should never lose hope on human beings as a whole, as a community. So that is the way to go. Constitutional instruments like the public interest litigation or PIL, the right to information, RTI, etc., lose their relevance without complete transparency in the dissemination of government as well as non-government data. Building a mass-based system of knowledge banks can help us a lot in achieving our goal. We can assist the governments for making more information public wherever necessary. Push for education. We would have to work as much as we can in ensuring at least basic education to these children who are not likely to see the light of education due to various reasons. We have the curse of poverty in India. We have the curse of, I should say, prejudices in India that bars many of our children from getting a proper education, a proper modern education. Open education not only gives them the platform, not only gives them the way to the books, but it gives them a choice. The most important thing is it gives them a choice. We are not the ones who are going to determine what books are to be read. We are not the ones who are going to determine what books our children would read, but they themselves would determine that. And that is the spirit of open education. This is a monumental task. Why? Because in India we have how many languages in India? Can anybody tell me? This is going to be an interactive session, so you should participate, please. Yeah, how many? 24, very good. We have actually 26. We have actually 26. So there are 26 state-recognized languages, major languages. Now, think about the monumental work that we have to do, that we have to perform to open up books, to open up educational material for everyone in all the languages, in all these 26 languages. And barring these 26 languages that we have in India, there are more. There are actually 160 languages spoken in India, 160. And there are 140 languages that are written that are actually written on paper and pen, with a pen on paper. The other 20, they don't have a script. So it's a gigantic task, and everybody should come forward. It's the duty of every citizen of this country to come forward and help our children, because our children are the future of this country. However, every little step helps. Involving the masses can, to a great extent, result in a quicker transformation of the present scene. For example, we can have citizens making study material open and free, and also involve them more in the dispersion of education. I was talking about NROE, National Repository of Open Educational Resources. Now that is run by the government, but we shouldn't rely on the government only. We should take up the initiative. We should take up our own initiative. Nobody is going to do any work for us. We shouldn't, we shouldn't hold ourselves back. We should come forward. Every citizen of this country who is worth his sword, her sword, should come forward. This is a national duty that we have towards our children, towards the next generation of this country. Okay. We aim to arrange for vocational, professional-based education for adult population. This way, we can work towards uplifting the economy from the grassroots. So this concludes our opening talk, you can say. I would like to request you to please stand up and pay respect to a certain individual who has been a major driving force behind this movement in India. So ladies and gentlemen, if you could rise up on your feet, please, and observe 1 minute silence. Thank you very much. Please sit down. I would like to call up on stage next Ms. Priyanka Sen, who is going to talk about open education. Ms. Priyanka Sen and Mrs. Supriya Sen, please. Can we welcome them with a big hand?
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Supriya Sen, and I'll be speaking about open education. As we all know, education, actually what is education? Education is an act and a process of imparting and acquiring knowledge, and of developing the powers of reasoning and judgment. In the words of a famous person, Martin Luther King Jr., intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Hence, it is the birthright of every human being to get the basic education. But even in this century, we find, thousands of children who are deprived even of their basic education. Now, what is open data, education data? Open data is data that comes out of education institutions, data that can be exploited, used by the education institutions, and open research data. Open data that, the terms are open data that can be used in an educational way, open data in education, and open data from education. What data sets are we talking about? The data sets we are talking about are students' data, course data, institution data, user-generated data, and policy or government data. Now, under the students' data, it comprises of attendance, curriculum, syllabus, PLE data, number of textbooks, skills, and digital literacy. While the institution data, that includes location data, results, infrastructure, location, students' enrollment, textbook budget, and the teacher details. The user-generated data, that comprises of learning analytics, assessments, performance data, job placements, laptop data, time on tasks, use of different programs, applications, etc. The policy or government data, that comprises of equity, budgets, spending, UNESCO, literacy data, deprivation and marginalization in education. Now, we have different ways of thinking about open education. The data that can be categorized on the basis are type, purpose, level, and user. Enrollment, achievement, attainment, outcome, resources, cost, that fall under the type category. Purpose, under the purpose category, we have accountability, efficiency, and innovation. The regional, national, local, class, individual activity, this falls under the level. And the user category, it falls, policymaker, researcher, journalist, education leader, educator, parents, etc. This is a case study of eBay. It is a comparative analysis of the open government data in basic education between Brazil and England. And this is known as Transparent. This heading is My Transparent School. With reference to this case, I can say the Minister of the Cabinet Office there had described that open data as the new material of the 21st century. Let us see the open data analysis of the eBay case. We can classify them under macro, meso, and micro. The macro, or the education policy, that census data, school performance, media, watchdogs, participation of NGOs, etc. The meso were the school management, the school performance of indicators, administrative data, collaboration versus competition models, and data support to local authorities. The micro is about the students, the pupil personal data, academic history data, conflict with private data, and personalized learning, so on. Now, what is National Pupil Database? That is test and exam results, attainment for data for students in non-maintained special schools, sixth forms and further education. Information on pupils in independent schools were available. Gender, ethnicity, first language, eligibility for free school meals, special educational needs, that is SEN, pupil absence and exclusions. Now we need to know how we can use open data sets to meet educational needs. Let us see how open public service is empowering parents and improving accountability. According to the reports published in September 2013 by RSA, OPSN calls for release of data sets. Accordingly to the Miller and Wood, dangers of overemphasizing the role of school choice as the main driver of parental interest in information about their children's schools. It is equally important that contextual information for parents and children wanting to understand their own or their child's educational progress. Now, to meet these educational needs and reach to all strata of people, even in the remote corners, we already have a comprehensive collection of educational materials so that we can give them the right to choice. All the materials and books, they carry CC BY license, which is Creative Commons Attribution License. And this is there because then we will have no copyright problem or any legal hassle. To mention just a few of the books, they are Glimpses of Bengal, that's Letters of Rabindranath Tagore, between 1885 to 1995, complete collections of Saratchandra Chattopadhyay, works of Prem Chand, Hindu Tales from the Sanskrit by S. M. Mitra, children's books by Sukumar Roy and Upendra Krishna Roy, and Sukumar Roy's, which has been translated, converted by Satyajit Ray. Then textbooks also, which is most important also, on math, psychology, chemistry, etc. And also we have the basic learning, that the Bengali and English, Sahaj Path. So all these books we have tried to bring in, and many, many more books. And we are promoting more textbooks. There are many textbooks which are with open license also, and they are getting a platform in our education system. All these books we have, are in the PDF format and not in XML, because XML is not always accessible by all people, and only it is, you can say it is accessible by the very smart classroom. But PDF format, anybody can use it, and they can read, copy, teach, and do anything. And we have not used much pictures on this PDF format, and not colored pictures actually. So because it will increase the prices, why did we do it? So that every person, even whether they are poor or rich, everyone can use this. Sorry. Excuse me. And we have taken into consideration the financial problems which many of our remote places, the children faces. Well, what in West Bengal, we have the Kanasri Pokolpo and Beti Parao in the center, and they are giving lots of financial help. That is good, but that is not enough. We want that these children can have a choice. They have the right to choice what they want to study, how they want to go about. Now our target is to create a library, a universal library, where anyone, anytime can read different books. And this will give them the choice. And the power of choice we want to give to the general mass. So using open data to meet educational needs by supporting new tools, enriching resources, exploration, informed choices. So this is what I really have said about it, how we can give them the choice of different books and different types. By supporting schools and institutions, that is learning analytics, improve efficiency, and benchmarking. By supporting governments and policy, the change in policy, transparency, trust, and education reform. Now, who benefits from this HE data? We can see a lot of people, lot of organizations can benefit. Their students, staff, schools, universities, local community, businesses, media, entrepreneurs, charities, suppliers. This is a case study in Uganda. In the very beginning, they had a lot of problem, for the school were not, government money which were sent for the school did not reach the destination due to the corruptions that was there prevalent in Uganda. But from the period of 1995-2001, there had been a lot of changes, and the funding started reaching school, and it rose from 24% to 82%. This is case study, Bhavalpur Service Delivery Unit. Now, this case actually which won making all voices count global innovation competition. Mobile apps that allow officials and citizens to monitor attendance by teachers and students at school. The data are released openly. And not only that, the initiative has led to improved teacher attendance, which in turn led to the improved pupil grades. In fact, this is a very inspiring case, because this case, Bhavalpur, it's in Punjab, in Pakistan side, and improving service delivery is in an under-resourced and a conflict area with lack of data. And the Bhavalpur Service Delivery Unit, this will serve as a model of better management aided by the citizens for the citizens. And unlike most innovative ideas led by NGOs, this one is led directly by an educated young civil servant who holds a key position in the government service, and therefore we can see that this case has enormous potential to create an impact. Well, thank you very much. I will ask my next speaker, Priyanka Sen, to say on this further.
Before I start out, I would like to ask Mr. Bijon Sarkar to come up on stage, please. Please come up and say a few words.
ওপেন নলেজ ইন্ডিয়া ছোট্ট একটা অনুষ্ঠান, সেই অনুষ্ঠানে যারা এসেছেন আমি সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। সেই সঙ্গে আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ করার জন্য আমি কর্তৃপক্ষকে আমার কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাই। একটু আগে যিনি বললেন, আমি যতটুকু শুনলাম, তার আগে যিনি বলছিলেন, দুজনের কথা শুনে কিছুটা জানার চেষ্টা করলাম। শিক্ষা, স্বাস্থ্য কিংবা মিডিয়া থেকে শুরু করে বিভিন্ন ক্ষেত্রে এর ভূমিকার কথা জানার চেষ্টা করছিলাম। আসলে ভারতবর্ষ, আর যদি আমরা যেখানে বসে আছি সেই বাংলার কথা বলি একটু, আমাদের দেশের এখনো 70% বিদ্যালয় কিংবা কলেজ সেই স্তরে আসতে পারেনি যাদেরকে এই সুযোগ সুবিধার কাছাকাছি নিয়ে আসা যায়। এখনো পর্যন্ত এটা দুর্ভাগ্য হলেও সত্য, আমরা ভারতবর্ষের বহু স্কুলে ইলেকট্রিফিকেশন করতে পারিনি। এই বাস্তবতাকে মেনে নিয়েও আধুনিকতার ছোঁয়ার হাত ধরে আমাদের এগোতে হবে। আর যারা এগিয়ে আছে, গভর্নমেন্ট স্পন্সর্ড স্কুল কিংবা গভর্নমেন্ট এডেড স্কুল, এই সবগুলো মিলিয়ে যত স্কুলের সংখ্যা, আর যেখানে কম্পিউটার আছে শুধুমাত্র শেখার জন্য, সেই সংখ্যা তুলনামূলকভাবে 15% ভারতবর্ষে। কলেজগুলোতে কম্পিউটারের কোনো অসুবিধে নেই, কিন্তু স্কুলের সমস্যা আছে। আর কন্যাশ্রী নিয়ে উনি যে কথা বললেন, কন্যাশ্রী আসলে প্রকল্পটা একটু আলাদা। গতকাল রাজ্য বাজেটে 500 টাকা করে বছরে দেওয়া হতো, সেটা 750 করা হয়েছে। টাকাটা খুবই সামান্য এক বছরে একজন ছাত্রীর। উদ্দেশ্য দুটো, নারী পাচার রোধ করা এবং শিক্ষার ক্ষেত্রে তাদের যতদিন আটকে রাখা যায় সেটার চেষ্টা করা। 18 বছরের আগে বিয়ে হয়ে যাওয়ার মেয়েগুলোকে আমরা যেমন মা হতে দেখি 18-র আগে, সেদিকটা থেকে তাদের কতটা আটকানো যায়, কতটা মূল স্রোতে আনা যায়। পুষ্টিজনিত যে শিশু জন্মগ্রহণ করে, তাদের সেই শিশু আগামী দিনের ভবিষ্যৎ না আগামী দিনের স্বাস্থ্যের ক্ষেত্রে একটা অন্য চিত্র তুলে ধরে, সেটাই বোধহয় আমাদেরকে একটু ভাবতে হবে। গত বছর 20 লক্ষ ছাত্রীকে কন্যাশ্রী দেওয়া গেছে, আর এবারে 22 লক্ষ টার্গেট করা হয়েছে। আসলে চেষ্টাটা সামান্য হলেও সমাজের কিছু ক্ষেত্রে নারী পাচার কমেছে এবং আগামী দিনে আরও বেশি কমবে। 18-র আগে বিয়ের প্রবণতা কমছে, আরও বেশি কমানোর দায়িত্ব আমাদের সকলের। টাকা কম থাকলে আরও বেশি দেওয়া নিশ্চয়ই দরকার ছিল। প্রতি মাসে বোধহয় 500 টাকা হলে খুব ভালো হতো, কিন্তু আর্থিক সংস্থানের ক্ষেত্রে কখনো কখনো ইচ্ছে থাকলেও উপায় থাকে না। আর এই সুযোগ সুবিধাগুলো যদি পাওয়া যায় তাহলে বোধহয় বহু ক্ষেত্রে কলেজ, বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় কিংবা বিদ্যালয়গুলোতে যে ধরনের সমস্যা আছে সেই সমস্যা থেকে এই প্রজেক্ট এবং অনেক বেশি স্বাস্থ্য থেকে শুরু করে যে বিষয়গুলো রয়েছে সেখানে আমাদের সহযোগিতা পেতে পারি। আমরা এই ডেটা অ্যানালিসিস থেকে আমরা অনেক অনেক বেশি সমৃদ্ধ হতে পারি। নিজেদের ভুল ত্রুটিগুলো ঠিক রাখা দরকার। শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকা সঠিক সময়ে ক্লাসে যাচ্ছেন কিনা, তার অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সে এই যে ম্যানুয়াল হওয়ার কারণে তারা ঠিকঠাক আসছেন কিনা সময়ে, ক্লাসে কতক্ষণ দেরি করে যাচ্ছেন, ইউনিভার্সিটিতে শুধু কি পলিটিক্স করছেন কোনো একজন টিচার নাকি তিনি পড়াচ্ছেন, এটা দেখাও অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। এইগুলো খুব হেল্প করবে। আর অভিভাবকদের কাছে ছাত্রছাত্রীর কি উন্নতি হলো সেটাও অনেকখানি ধরা পড়বে। আর একটা সমালোচনা না করে পারি না, কলেজ কিংবা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে যারা পড়তে আসছে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা, তারা সত্যি কি পড়ছে? তারা অন্য পথে যাচ্ছে না তো? ভাবনার দিন কিন্তু শুরু হয়ে গেছে। বিভিন্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের আন্দোলন থেকে একটা জিনিস আমি একজন শিক্ষক হিসেবে বুঝতে পারছি, যে শিক্ষার পাশাপাশি যে বিষয়গুলো আছে, শিক্ষাকে বাদ দিয়ে যে বিষয়গুলো আছে, সেদিকটাই বেশি বোধহয় আকর্ষণ করছে। আমি যখন প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজে প্রথম দিন ভর্তি হয়েছিলাম, আমাদের প্রিন্সিপাল একটা বক্তব্য রেখেছিলেন, আমার আজও দাগ কাটে। প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজের দুটো সিঁড়ি, একটা সিঁড়ি পাতালে যাওয়ার, একটা সিঁড়ি স্বর্গের সিঁড়ি। স্বর্গের সিঁড়িতে লোক নেই, কষ্ট বেশি, উপর দিকে উঠতে হয়। আর পাতালের সিঁড়ি, নামার সিঁড়ি, বন্ধু বেশি আর উপভোগ করার জিনিস অনেক। কোন সিঁড়িটা তোমরা পছন্দ করবে সেটা বেছে নাও। আমার মনে হয় এই সময়ে শিক্ষায়, কলেজ ইউনিভার্সিটিতে এই পাতালের সিঁড়ির দিকে হাত ছানি দিচ্ছে বহু, সেই সিঁড়িতেই নামছে বেশি করে। তার জন্যই বোধহয় আন্দোলন হয় পাশ করানোর, তার জন্যই বোধহয় আন্দোলন হয় অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স না থাকা সত্ত্বেও পরীক্ষা দেওয়ার দাবিতে। আপনাদের সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ এই অনুষ্ঠানে আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ জানানোর জন্য।
রিকোয়েস্ট করব এনাকে মিস্টার শুভজিৎ গাঙ্গুলি, ওপেন নলেজ ইন্ডিয়ার অ্যাম্বাসেডরকে এই ট্রফিটা দেওয়ার জন্য।
For most of human history, education has been a walled garden, accessible only to the privileged few. In the 15th century, some people opposed the printing press, and in the 19th century, some academics fought against universal primary education. Today, the struggle to provide quality education continues. Open education resources are education materials that are free to use and can be adapted and customized. By providing universal access, OER are continuing the movement toward education for all. With OER, for the first time, it is actually possible to educate everyone. Take, for example, Femi. She's 17, lives in a large city in Nigeria, and once dreamed of becoming an engineer. But there are few university spots available, and her family cannot afford the fees. With some extra money set aside from work, Femi spends time at a local internet cafe. She logs on to MIT's website, and starts taking chemical engineering courses. Starting with a few hours of internet each week, Femi works her way through video lectures, notes, and other learning materials. An electrical engineering degree from MIT costs nearly $200,000. But with OpenCourseWare and a lot of self-motivation, Femi is determined to learn. When Femi has questions about the materials, she logs onto Kuriki and finds thousands of additional videos and notes contributed by experts. Plus, since MIT uses an open license, lots of people have translated the material. Femi finds class notes in her local language, adapted with additional explanations. As the year progresses, Femi discovers others doing exactly what she's doing. She joins a study group at Peer-to-Peer University and builds a community of learners and friends from all over the world: China, Mexico, even others in Nigeria. Femi hopes to use what she's learned to get a better job. Perhaps someday she'll get school credit, maybe even a university degree. 10 years ago, Femi's story would have been impossible. But today, thanks to OER, we're building a more equitable and interconnected world.
Well, now, let's talk about the data hacking challenges. How data is opened. How is data hacked ethically? Data competitions and challenges are not new to universities and research institutes, but there is now also an increasing number taking place outside the academic place. Here are some example competitions where open data has played or is playing a role till now. Some conferences are devoted to open data and its social and educational value. These include the Open Data Dialogue, International World Wide Web Conference, ADRIDNE or Globe Convening, and the OK Fest. There are also many challenges which encourage novel or effective uses of open data in education. These include the Open Education Challenge, the Open Data Challenge series, and the Mass Edu Data Challenge. Let's see first the Open Education Challenge. It was launched in partnership with the European Commission and is part of the Startup Europe. The Open Data Challenge series is running a series of 7 challenges to generate innovative and sustainable open data solutions to social challenges. So far, the different areas which have been covered have been education, crime and justice, energy, and environment. The Mass Edu Data Challenge. Well, it is the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education which has maintained extensive data sets on education from all of the state's 351 cities and towns. And it is seeking to spark additional engagement and innovation around its data through the launch of Mass Edu Data Challenge, which is a 6-week competition aimed at engaging the public in viewing, analyzing, and visualizing Massachusetts educational data to produce new insights, tools, and opportunities to improve outcomes and drive social benefit in the Commonwealth. Now, how is open data created and released? We need to remember that we always have to keep it simple. We need to keep it simple. And for that, we have to start out small, simple, and fast. And we also need to remember that innovation is very important. We start early, we engage early and often, and considering the ethics, we use open licenses and make the data available in bulk and in a useful format. We also need to remember that the data is likely to reach intermediaries, and the people will want to combine data sets and use local data and open data. And here lies the actual value of open education. Now, the universities and open data. How is it creating value from open data? We all know that universities now, they can use open data and they can benefit from that. Here we can see the Universities UK Seminar Series, which has the funding partners of Universities UK, ODI, and US Leadership Foundation. And there are different universities which have signed up. They are the Edinburgh, Oxford, Cambridge, Newcastle, Aberdeen, OU, Southampton, and Greenwich. The possible work is to develop a web-based app for the dataset release and looking at staff recruitment, business processes, research management, and student experience. Now, how do we monetize open data? Let's see a few figures. The McKinsey Open Data has a potential global value of over $3 trillion. The Omidyar Network Open Data, including open access research, could contribute as much as $13 trillion to the economies of the G20 nations cumulatively over the next 5 years. The European Union research. The open government data in the EU world would increase business activity of 40 billion euros, which would end in a reduction of transaction costs and increasing the transparency and savings, etc. How is monetizing done? According to the Open Data Institute, to make a business case, transparency and improved efficiencies are important. Business models should include freemium, cross-subsidy, and network effects. And even the Open Data 500 is the first comprehensive study of US companies that use open government data to generate new business and develop new products. And how do we learn analytics? First, we should see that what is analytics itself. We can say that the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data about learners and their contexts for purposes of understanding and optimizing learning and the environments in which it occurs is called analytics. Now, there have been conflicts between analytics for individual learners and organizational stakeholders. So, the new area for learning analytics can be found in online courses such as MOOCs. Now, how can analytics data be used? It can be used in various ways. Example, to enable great prediction and student success, improve student retention, measure student performance, determine what learners know and what they currently do not know, monitor learner engagement, personalize learning and ensure relevant content is delivered, and reduce classroom and administrative work. And this is more potential and is a very valuable tool. And now let's see about learning. How is open data used in education? So many data sets are available, including open research data, which could be used by those in education online and in classrooms. We can use open data as raw materials, and it will get people engaged in politics, interested in the world. We need new core data sets linked with curriculum. And great examples in Linked Up Challenge can be used for teaching in politics, agriculture, history, ecology, medicine, etc. Now, what are the main challenges? The different challenges and opportunities are as follows. Measuring, monitoring, protecting privacy and ownership. These are the few challenges we have to overcome. And the difficulties of improving learning without intruding on privacy. We also have to see or check what should be collected or released and how it should be assessed. The measurement and data leading to reductionist myth is also another factor to be kept in mind. Where, what, and when can we measure and monitor the data? We can start in very local places. Example, the bus stop, school office, classroom, cafeteria, nurse's office, the gym, at home, and even online. There is no specific place for us to start because we can measure and monitor data anywhere and everywhere. Now let's see about the quantified student. For that, I would like you to listen to a small audio, which will prove the point of a day in the data-driven life of the most measured and monitored students in the history of education.
This is Marketplace from APM. I'm Kai Risdal. Our lives today, whether we like it or not, are driven by data. In retail, of course, on our phones and tablets, often at work, and at school, too. Yeah, no, not us. Our kids at school. Nearly everything a student does today is or can be tracked, and parents often have no idea. So today, as part of our project on education and technology, we call it Learning Curve, we're going to start a periodic look at the role that data plays in education. with the most monitored and measured generation in history, our kids. Marketplace's Adrian Hill gets us going with a day in the life of the quantified student.
It's 7:30 a.m. The school bus pulls up. Your child swipes his ID card and gets on. Kalia Barnes heads the Student Privacy Project for the Electronic Privacy Information Center.
The data collection begins even before he really even steps into the school on campus grounds.
She says the ID card, which contains a radio frequency ID chip, lets the school and you, mom and dad, know your kid's on the bus. Barnes says in some schools, the tracking doesn't stop there.
We can also be tracked about our direct location, exact location within school.
She says school administrators could know if he leaves the building or if he visits the school counselor. And that's just one small part of your kid's growing data file. A teacher calls the roll.
Asa here, Gardner here, Owen.
Attendance records will be collected, along with your child's test scores, disciplinary records, and grades, among other things, and likely sent to a giant state database. In the last decade, the federal government has handed out over $600 million to help states set up these databases. Stephen Balcom is the head of the Family Online Safety Institute.
With the idea that if we could keep track of our kids from kindergarten through to 12th grade, we'd have a much better understanding, a much greater handle on what's working, what's not working, what needs to be added to the curriculum.
And the government, he says, isn't the only one trying to figure out what's working by investing in and gobbling up data about your kid.
We literally know everything about what you know and how you learn best. Everything.
That's Jose Ferreira, the CEO of Newton, an education technology company, and one of the biggest players in the $8 billion ed tech market. He's speaking here in a video posted by the Department of Education. Newton analyzes student data it collects by keeping track of every click and keystroke your child makes during digital lessons.
We have 5 orders of magnitude more data about you than Google has. We literally have more data about our students than any company has about anybody else, about anything, and it's not even close.
5 orders of magnitude more data than Google. Data, Ferreira says, that can be used to tailor lessons to individual kids, to help them do better. Newton knows when your kid struggles, when he does best, and one day, maybe even why.
You tell us what you had for breakfast every morning at the beginning of the semester. By the end of the semester, we should be able to tell you what you had for breakfast, because you always do better on the days you have scrambled eggs.
Lucky, your 7th grader ate his eggs today. He's sitting quietly, staying on task, as they say, and doing awesome on his math assignment. The teacher rewards his good behavior on her iPad. Using behavior management software, she walks around the room, doling out digital points for helpfulness and attentiveness, taking them away from kids who act out. All this behavior data is stored online. Parents can check it. It can be turned into reports for teachers and administrators.
We live in a 24/7 data mining universe today, and I think most of us parents and teachers and kids don't realize how much of our data is out there and being used by other people.
Jim Steyer heads Common Sense Media. I asked him, as a parent, what he thinks the biggest risk is in this student data grab.
That information that's very personal to me and my family, for example, my kid's disciplinary record, their health record, or something else, might somehow be made available to people who it's nobody's business to have that.
There are some protections in place, federal and state laws that limit what type of information can be gathered and how educational records can be shared. But privacy experts think there are still big holes in school contracts with companies that provide school services, in so-called third-party learning apps brought in by teachers, apps that may have loose privacy policies or none at all. Technology, experts say, is moving faster than our ability to keep up with it. It's lunchtime. Your child gets in line in the cafeteria and enters his ID number into a touchpad. His allergies, his account balance, maybe even your financial information are all linked and tracked under his name or ID number. So is what he eats. In some schools, even vending machine purchases are recorded. Should he get in trouble, the principal may rely on discipline software to dole out his punishment. Here's the pitch from the software maker.
If you choose, you can automate assigning discipline consequences to save time and eliminate errors.
And in gym class,
Lafayette High School uses heart rate bands to track how hard students are working during physical education activities.
Heart rate monitors will now help grade gym classes in Dubuque. Then, as bodies start moving, each student's heart rate will appear on the teacher's iPad and a large projector on the wall.
As if gym class weren't embarrassing enough. In some districts, kids have Fitbit-style wristbands that record their activity at school, on the playground, and at home. Which is where your kid is headed now, laptop shoved into his backpack. Some schools have installed tracking technology on computers as a security measure. They allow schools to see where a kid is logging in from via an IP address. Cameron Evans is the Chief Technology Officer for Microsoft Education.
In the beginning, you would think there are absolutely no risk. This is completely benign.
But imagine, says Evans,
over a period of time, the IP address that device connects to the internet is nowhere near the address that was put on file for them. In fact, it's not even in the same school district.
A school could investigate and maybe find out that the child doesn't live in the district or that his parents are separated and label that child at risk. It's a label, says Evans, that could follow a kid through school.
In the past, they would have never had that information, but now that everything's electronic, we can correlate data in ways that we never ever had the opportunity to do before.
And by connecting all those dots, can create a profile of a student that can follow him from kindergarten all the way through college. Which is why privacy advocates say it's so important that schools, teachers, parents wrestle with student data issues now. I'm Adrienne Hill for Marketplace.
This is Marketplace from APM. I'm Kai Risdall. Our lives today, whether we like it or not, are driven by data.
So we have seen how the quantified student, and we can see the life of a student, and this is really what is happening in UK. And wouldn't we like this to happen here, where we can monitor our children's data or any other data which we want, and create a huge database in future for reference. Now I would like to show you a video on this topic.
A few years ago, a professor taught a climate change course reaching about 100 students per semester. One day he thought,
if I could upload this course online, then not only would my 100 students have access to it, but others as well.
So he did. And this is what happened.
Anna sent the course's content across the country to Alex, who was studying climate change.
Alex found it so interesting that he forwarded a copy to his friend Lulu in Africa.
Lulu was developing peer-to-peer courses with Philip, so they remixed the content with other resources and created a new course about the impacts of climate change in Africa.
Alan, a participant in the course, shared the content with Gabby, who was studying environmental policy in Latin America.
Gabby brought the content to her class, and together they translated it into Spanish. After that, Gabby's professor shared it with his other classes.
Myra, another student, shared the content with her father, who passed it on to his colleagues.
Gabby's professor also forwarded the content to David, a colleague in the UK who was researching climate change. He updated some of the data, adapted it to his study, and published an article in an open journal. Researchers from all over the world were able to read the article.
David sent the updated content back to the original professor. By then, his course had reached so many more people than his 100 students.
Years later, many schools had begun to follow the example and open access to their content.
Governments began promoting the use of open textbooks, and students began saving money on books.
Other innovative universities began to open access to entire courses, making them available to participants from all around the world. These are open educational resources, teaching, learning, and research resources that can be reused, redistributed, remixed, and revised.
Open educational resources are accessible to everyone: learners, teachers, researchers, parents, workers, citizens, to you.
This is open education, knowledge as a public good.
Everyone has the right to be educated, yet only a few have access to school.
Open educational resources increase access to, improve improve quality of and reduce costs of education.
Sharing knowledge is important.
Now you know, open educational resources give everyone the opportunity.
So we would really like everyone to play a part in increasing the open data which we want to impart everywhere in this world. Now, shaping change with open education data. In the words of David Lassner, he was the interim president and former chief information officer at the University of Hawaii. He spoke that our opportunities for improvement are immense, and data provides a powerful lens to understand how we are doing internally and relative to our peers. This applies across all segments of what we do, from teaching and learning to administrative support. Performance metrics and dashboards at the beginning, but using data to understand deeper correlations and causality so that we can shape change will be critical as we strive to advance our effectiveness. Hence, we can conclude by saying that open education data holds huge value and potential, and you need to consider the real value to you and your institution. This value may relate to transparency, commercial value, social value, participation and engagement, and making learning better. Hence, open knowledge is what open data becomes when it's useful, usable, and used. Together, we can bring the light of education to all children in the country, and this is an area Open Knowledge India is really passionate about. We want to support in our endeavors. Please get involved in our project and serve the community. Thank you. Now I would like to invite all the chief guests on stage, please, once.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you Priyanka, thank you Mrs. Sen, Mrs. Supriya Sen. They had a very wonderful session here today. We are the makers of the CKN, Open Knowledge, and the world is known for being the home to CKN, that is the main software that is being used all over the world. That is, we heard about that software, and we'll be talking about open data, more about open data in this talk. As you know, Open Knowledge India has been formed by a number of researchers, a number of scientists, a number of educationists, a number of activists, a number of government officials in India. The journey started in 2004. The person who is credited to be the founder of this movement is called Rufus Pollock. Is Rufus Pollock. Let's hear him talk a few things about open data.
The Open Knowledge Foundation is an international non-profit that does advocacy and builds technology to open up information and see it used to empower people and organisations to answer questions that matter. So that could be a question like, what's the quickest way to do my commute? But also up to global questions like, how do we tackle climate change? We're talking about data like what the government spends money on, or what, how much rainfall there's been, or whether the planet is getting warmer, or what the time of trains are from Oxford to London, or whatever it is. We are part of a movement and a development in society of data and information is getting more and more important in some way. We're entering a knowledge society, as people say, or an information age. The irony today is that a lot of the data collected about you don't have access to, and you're not empowered to choose how that is used, or how it's managed, or who it's shared with. It's the fact that we exist, in a social network, or online social networks, have a funding model that's based essentially on spying on us. I mean, that is their essential business model. We do believe in a world in which, the information like what you shop, or what you spend money on, or, I don't know, where you travel to, or whatever, is given to you and is under your control. It's not something that's kind of given out into the world for Facebook, or Google, or Tesco to decide what to do with. Now, I have to say, I think you have to start with curiosity. You're not going to go along and say, hey, I just want to learn data skills without a motivation. So I think the place also to begin for most people is to say, is there a question that's bugged you? Is the food that you're eating healthy? Or is my train always late? Is my train line particularly bad? There are a lot of people out there who can now help you. So I think that's the kind of way to go, that you have got to do a bit of thinking and develop some skills, develop some tools, and get together with other people. It's more fun with others.
I was in Berlin last year to attend the Open Knowledge Festival, and it was organized by the European Union. Let's see what the Vice President of the European Union, the then Vice President, Ms. Nelly Kroes, has to say about open data.
Commissioner Kroes, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. There's a couple of things. So first of all, why, you've chosen to come. What excites you about being here at Open Knowledge Festival?
Well, anyhow, inspiration. Food for thought is an open community, very creative in their way of thinking, out of the box. So I badly need that to make the policy.
Very positive. You've been an absolute inspiration as a policymaker, I have to say. Generally, in this area, you've been incredibly innovative. But what do you think are the challenges still upcoming in this kind of area of the digital agenda, whether it's from open data through to privacy? What are the things that you think are really to fight for, or the challenges upcoming?
For me, it is talking about the atmosphere and the way of thinking in this festival, that is implemented all around Europe. For it can be absolutely an asset, and that asset is not only for the happy few, those who are already involved in this movement, but all those who are really making a lot out of a society which is open, and it's open for information, and there it starts to have a dialogue, but it's also talking about open education, it's talking about an open mindset, and people, when they are aware of what's all about, then they are excited. So they deserve it, and I don't want to accept a world of the haves and the have-nots. That is the past. It is now everybody should have the benefits, and sometimes the disadvantages, but benefits are far higher than compared to former days.
Absolutely. One question is, looking back over the last few years, of this role, I know you before competition, you also did amazing roaming charges and so on, but one thing right now, what is the thing that what are the kind of 2 or 3 or one thing that you're most happy about achieving over the last few years?
Well, would you mind if I just put it the other way around? What I'm still pushing, and still a couple of months in office,
very much so.
Having absolutely more certainty about the acceptance of the telco single market package. It is absolutely idiot that we are still having a ring-fenced telco market in Europe, and for every other economic activity it is a single market. So we have to just get rid of those barriers, and it is a step forward, and we have to do it as soon as possible. It's talking about creating jobs, it's talking about connection with all the other economic activities, it's talking about dealing with a lot of challenges, innovation, and it's talking about opportunities. So that's one. And another one, and that's a bit my love baby, it's coding. Yeah. What we were used to, that we were learning our children reading and writing, but it's not anymore reading and writing, it is coding. So from day one on that they are in that phase of their life, they should indeed learn, and then also talking about boys and girls, for still missing quite the numbers of women participation, girl participation.
That we would like to see.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so that's amazing. Just to ask a couple of specific ones. One is you've done quite a bit of stuff on the kind of open research, open access. Is there anything more that you would like to be seeing in that kind of area beyond what we have so far?
Well, I'm always impressed, and again, also during this festival, about the talent we have in Europe. And by the way, sometimes people are saying our talent is leaving Europe. Sometimes they are, but that's not bad. So getting them in the mood to come back, but also being aware that a lot of talent of other parts of the world are coming here. So
at this festival.
Yes, and staying and starting their company, and it is amazing what is going on. So don't be in the mood that we are giving up. Not at all. We have great talent, and we should use it. And it is all about competitiveness of Europe, and that is creating jobs, and that is taking care of your startups, for giving them a climate in which it's worthwhile to start in Europe, your startup, and just flourishing.
And finally, obviously, any words for obviously Open Knowledge, we're 10 years old this year as an organisation. Any words for our future, or anything that you think you're happy to have seen us do?
Go on and every time take the latest that you can get in the transformation of a society for a never dull moment. So it's fun. It's fun, but it is also a part of your responsibility. For you are aware, your group is aware, and it is great to be in your midst. And 10 years is just a split second. So go on.
Thank you so much, Nelly. We're looking forward to your talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Nelly Kroes, the Honorable Nelly Kroes, the European Vice President. Before I forget, I should thank many people who made this event possible. The National Council of Education Bengal for lending us this hall and lending us the support, for the European Commission and Open Knowledge India for funding this project, for the various volunteers who have been working tirelessly to make this event possible. Okay, let's go back to our slide. We have been talking about open knowledge. We don't want to go the Neanderthal way that I told you about in the morning. We want to be Homo sapiens. We want to live like Homo sapiens. We want to live like modern human beings and be more open-minded. As you could hear Ms. Nelly Kroes say, open-mindedness is the key to survival. Not only to evolve, to survive, we need open-mindedness. So what is basically open knowledge? We are talking about open knowledge from the perspective of the digital age. Open Knowledge is a community-based, not-for-profit with projects and partnerships throughout the world. We build tools, apps, and communities to create, use, and share open data and content, information that everyone can use, share, and build on. CKN is one of that. We believe that by creating an open knowledge commons and developing tools and communities around this, we can make a significant contribution to the improving governance, research, and the economy. Collaboration, not control. Empowerment, not exploitation. Open, not closed. These are the key ideas that we are working on. Now, what are the basic rights of the citizens of this digital age? We are living in the digital age, nobody can deny that. What are the basic rights that every citizen of this world, I'm not talking about the citizens of India, I'm talking about every citizen of this world has? Global challenges. Now, some of the problems that we face are, we face as a species, as a race. I shouldn't be using the term race here, it's more about the species. Global challenges, role of information. Open information is essential to help everyone understand the issues, think of and try out solutions, and keep track of the risks and successes. Now, in the morning I talked about human evolution. I talked about the story of human evolution. You know that the Neanderthals became extinct because they couldn't channelize their intellect. They couldn't channelize their intellect to form a collective organism that the Homo sapiens could form, and because of that, the Homo sapiens survived and the Neanderthals became extinct. We don't want to go that way. In order to tackle major global challenges like the climate change and poverty, we need information to monitor the effectiveness of different initiatives and policies and to track progress against targets. The potential of openness to drive positive change is especially significant in the developing world. Open knowledge is very important all over the world. It's important in Europe, it's important in USA, it's important everywhere, but it's most important in India, in places like India, in places like what they call the global south. Nowadays, they don't talk about poor countries and rich countries, they talk about the global north and the global south. We sadly belong to the global south, or I should say, this is an opportunity for us. The global south is the bird to be, the place to be right now. If you're a world citizen, the place that you should be is the global south, and global south has the challenges that none of the part of the world faces. So the key is to think locally and to go global. You should think local and go global. That's the key. That's the idea. Citizens, democratic accountability and governance. All citizens should have free and open access to information about how their society operates at national, regional, and local levels, so that governments can be scrutinized and held to account. If you talk about the regimes in Africa, if you talk about Uganda, if you talk about Egypt, if you talk about Libya, we know about Muammar Gaddafi. How many of you know about Muammar Gaddafi? Has anybody heard about Muammar Gaddafi? I have two people raising their hands. Yes? Yes, who was Muammar Gaddafi? A Libyan dictator, yeah, very good, thank you. He was a Libyan dictator, and he was a very corrupted person, and his corruption could come to the surface only because of open data. Once open data came to Libya, once it arrived at Libya, Muammar Gaddafi's regime was as good as over, because people knew he could no longer lie behind their backs. Information about budgets, procurement, and expenditure enable citizens to find out where their taxes are spent and to ensure that elections are free and fair. Election information, legislation, and key societal infrastructure data such as maps and postcodes should be open to all. Now, we are very pleased to announce that open knowledge has been working in the field of open data, as everyone in this room should be knowing by now. We have our postal codes open. In India, we have all the postal codes at every place digitized and made into an open license. They're provided with open licenses, and everyone is free to get that information. You can build apps. Anybody is, the next revolution is apps. The next revolution is open data. Because all the apps that you're using on your phones, on your smartphones, on your iPads, on your laptops, on your desktops, run on open data. Everything runs on open data. Talk about Google. How many of you here use Google Maps? Only 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, okay. That's good enough. Do you know how Google Maps actually operate? Can anybody tell me? There is actually a data feed. It's wrong to think that the satellites are sending images every time. No, that is not what is happening. Actually, there are latitude and longitude informations for every region in this world, every region on this planet. And Google has a robot, a bot, you should say, not robot, because it's a digital robot, it's a bot, B-O-T, bot. And it crawls the web, it crawls the data, it mines the data, and the information that you're asking for, it mines the data, and it brings up that data from the ocean of data that you have, and you get the information, you get the pinpoint location on the globe, on the map. This is how global maps operate. Not only Google Maps, every global map operates like this. Research, science, and culture. Role of information. Free access to the sum of human knowledge enables everyone to fully understand their lives and our world, to make informed choices, and to build a better future together. In the words of Rabindranath Tagore, we know that human beings are different from all other species because we have something extra, something in excess. When the human beings settled down, once we had been hunter-gatherers, right? But then we settled down, and we settled down to farming. After we settled down to farming, we made tremendous progress. How was that possible? How was that made possible? Because we had that extra time, not only extra time, we had that extra intellect to use. So when we are betting on not only on a few individuals, but the whole of human race, the whole of humankind as a whole, you have a great chance of succeeding than when you bet at a given individual, even if that individual's name is Dr. Einstein, because collectively nobody is smarter than the whole of the human community. I'm not smarter than all the people sitting together, right? Everyone should have access to publicly funded research in all areas, including the latest science, medicine, and culture, both scholarly papers and research data, essential information such as the results of medical trials, successful or otherwise, should be openly available to all. We talk about research on cancer, we talk about research on cancer, we talk about research for inventing medicines for various ailments. If we open up that research, if we open up, actually this is being done as we talk, this is being done. And the Ebola, we should be, Ebola had been an epidemic in the whole of the Americas and Africas. So this open data movement, this open science movement made it possible for a vaccine to be made for Ebola. Say a researcher comes up with a piece of the DNA. How many of you know about the Genome Project, the Human Genome Project? It's an open project, and every single researcher is entitled to that platform, and it's the responsibility, it's the duty of every researcher who is working on open genomics, who is working on the human genome, to open up data in that platform, to open up his research in that platform. And if you build upon the entire knowledge of the entire community, of the entire research community as a whole, you get the whole of the human genome. And that was, it made it possible for us to get the human genome in 10 years instead of 50 years because of this open data movement. If it had been, if we had to work without the open data movement, then there might have been a researcher having a breakthrough somewhere, another researcher having a breakthrough in another place. But as we made a collective effort due to this open data movement, we could make it possible in 10 years, actually in less than 10 years. Consumers and business accountability. Everything is business. The world runs on money. We shouldn't be ignoring that. Everyone must be able to find out information about who owns and controls businesses, so that poor governance and damaging social and environmental practices can be uncovered, and to understand fully the products and services they use. Corruption and tax evasion damage societies around the world. To tackle this, everyone must be able to find out information about who owns and controls businesses, so that poor governance and damaging social and environmental practices can be uncovered. Consumers should be able to find out about the products and services they buy, such as the ingredients in the food they eat, the supply chains, and the sustainability of the mobile phones, and what personal information about them is collected by online services and how it is used. We should have full rights over information about ourselves and the ability to share it at will if we choose. If we talk about this social media, I don't know if how many of you know that the Facebook has a policy of mining your data, your private data. Now, this is what it shouldn't be happening. We are talking about open data, but we are not talking about open public data. Private data. Your private data should be private. The people you're liking, the people you're following, that is your private data, and that should remain private. But the portion of the data that can be used by everyone in order to make progress as a whole should be open. Okay, what are we? As I told you, we talked about it earlier also. We are a local group of professors, scientists, researchers, hackers, programmers, government and civil society representatives who came together to create this chapter of the open knowledge in India. Join hands and volunteer for creating positive changes. If you have been following us all throughout the day, we are an open platform and everybody is free to contribute. As you contribute to the Wikipedia, you not only use Wikipedia, you you edit Wikipedia, you build Wikipedia. Similarly, you build open knowledge. Not only use open knowledge, but you build open knowledge. Why open knowledge? Open knowledge is empowering. It enables us to understand and change our world and our lives. Our motto is, knowledge is power. We want to empower everyone. We want that the power should be given to everyone, and it should not be confined to a select few, but it should belong to everyone. Thank you. The open knowledge culture of collaboration, community, and sharing is a better and more fulfilling way to learn, create, and improve things. Now, I don't think this needs any explanation because we already talked about the Neanderthal way of living, and the Neanderthals are extinct, whereas we are not. So I'm always harping upon this point because I want to drive through this point, through your hearts, through your minds, that in order to survive, in order to grow as a species, the next level of evolution is open data. Is the open movement, is collaboration at the global level. The open knowledge culture of collaboration, community, and sharing is better and more fulfilling way to learn, create, and improve things. What is open knowledge? Open data and content can be freely used, reused, and redistributed by anyone, anywhere, for any purpose. Now, how more? I don't know how open, can you be more than this? You're saying that open data and content can be freely used, reused, and redistributed by anyone, anywhere, for any purpose. For that, we have a few licenses, open licenses. They're called the CC licenses, Creative Commons licenses. They talked about the CC BY license, that's attribution license. You attribute the person who is creating, but in relation to data, original data, you don't have any attribution. You have CC0 licenses or CCO licenses, which are completely openly licensed. They follow this definition. This is called the open definition. So we, as you have known, that we defined the field of open knowledge a decade ago. This was the open definition that has been our driving force. Open knowledge is what open data and content become when they are made useful, accessible, understandable, meaningful, and able to help someone solve a real problem. We talked about knowledge, we talked about information. The relation between information and knowledge is that information is not usable. Knowledge is usable. You have the ingredients, you have all the ingredients, you have the eggs, you have the dough, you have everything, you have sugar, you have everything, but you cannot, unless you make the cake and you eat it, you make the cake and you eat it, you assimilate it, it becomes a part of your body, it doesn't become knowledge. So data is, the data are the ingredients, and knowledge is the cake that you eat. And in between, the process is called open data. That is the open data technology. Open knowledge is what open data and content become when they are made useful, accessible, understandable, meaningful, and able to help someone solve a real problem. Okay, the Open Knowledge Global has been running a census of all the countries in the world. It's more than 210 countries that we are surveying. It's called the Open Data Index and other work related to accessing the state of open data all over the world. Some relevant activities: Open Data Index and Census, opencatalogs.org, opendefinition.org. Now, all these are owned by Open Knowledge Global. We are, as Open Knowledge India, we are part of this movement. This is the Open Data Index. India is somewhere in the 10th place. Last year, India was at the 26th place. In a list of 176 countries, India was 26th, and India was placed below Bangladesh, India was placed below Nepal, and the turnaround today goes to show why, can answer why. There are only a few people who are attending this conference of this relevance. This is the reason, because nobody is waking up. Still, there are good people around, there are good people, good folks around who are working for open data, and India has been placed 10th this year. India has made progress. India has actually made progress. India has been placed 10th this year. And as you can see, transport timetables, government budget, government spending, election results, company register, national map, national statistics, legislation, postal codes, zip codes, emission of pollutants. These are the few criteria, the few basic criteria that we are looking for when we are surveying all the countries of the world. And United Kingdom is number one at this point in time. It's 940. Its score is 940. United States is second. Its score is 855. So United Kingdom is actually ahead of United States in this regard. Census, a rolling survey, index to resulting report, and leaderboard. The index aims to provide accessible league table presentation along with detailed country-by-country data peer-reviewed by experts, easy management from both policymakers, researchers, activists, and data users. Now, how this survey is run? This is how the survey is run. And in India, we have researchers, we have professors, we have scientists, we have people from the government who are actually working for this project even as we speak. They are working tirelessly to make India rank better in that survey. The survey was a bit of history about that survey. Launched in 2012, first round census plus index, second round came in 2013, expanded to 70 countries. The second round had 70 countries. India was placed somewhere at 26th place, I told you, in that census. At present, the number of countries is 97. Actually, it's more than 97 now, as we speak. It has already crossed 100. What is the purpose of this index? And let me inform you that this index is being used by the European Commission, the governments of USA, the governments of UK, the governments of France, the governments of Brazil, even the governments of China. Yeah, we are also using this index. The Indian government has started using this index nowadays. Purpose is to monitor the current status of open data across the globe. The focus of the census is data. Policies are crucial, but actual practice can be very different. Focusing on data keeps the census very concrete. We had a chief guest here. We had Bijan Babu here, who said that who talked about the Konyasri Prakalpo. That is a very, very positive step that we have taken by our government. But what our speakers said, we want to give them the power to choose, not only the power to buy books, but the power to choose the books that they want to buy. And that is open data. That is open education, actually. Analyzing policy or even law is a complex process. Whether a data set is open or not is usually a clear yes or no answer. In this sensor, we are interested in the current status of data. Is it open? Is it accessible? Can I use it now? These are the few basic questions that we want to answer. Now, in India, I can tell you, as I work in this field, I can tell you in India, we actually rank better than many of the countries in the field of open data, but sadly, we have non-machine readable data. The data that we have are mostly in PDF format. We are still in the middle ages of technology, and we have PDF format data. They are not machine readable. Machine readable data is at least CSV, comma separated values. CSV is comma separated values. I was talking about JSON to a person in the morning. JSON is another package that is used for opening up data, and that is another open data platform. Python is another. Python is a language, is an open source language that we use, and CKN runs on Python. So there are many. Hadoop is one. Hadoop is one. Somebody was talking about Hadoop in the morning. Hadoop is another that we use for opening up data. What are the key principles? Real open data, opendefinition.org. Now, as I told you, we defined what is open data. We provided the open definition a decade back, 10 years back, about 10 years back. It was in 2004. And real open data should follow that definition. All over the world, you have to follow that definition in order to say that your data is open. If you don't follow that definition, your data is not open enough. Quality rather than quantity. Comparability across countries, ease of accessibility. Data sets over policies in general, rankability. Now, the penultimate point, accessibility and data sets over policies. Actual work, we want actual work. We don't want talk. Only talking doesn't help, doesn't soak the bread. As you say in India, only talking doesn't soak the bread. You have to work, you have to show the actual results. You have to really open up data in order to see the change. Structure. What is the structure of open data that we are talking about? I'm going to be as less technical as possible because the audience that we are having today is not very technical. So we are not going into the details much. As you can see from my slides, they are actually a superficial description of open data. Consider additional indicators. Open data portals exist. This is called FOL, the FOL principle, FOL. Allow submission by community, but all submissions are reviewed by an expert editor to ensure quality and comparability. In India, there are 5 editors working in the index. I'm one of them, and we are working in order to review all the submissions. Even anybody sitting in this room can actually submit data to that index that we saw, the Open Data Index, the Global Open Data Index. But it is going to be reviewed by 5. There is a 5-level security system that is installed in the open definition itself, and there are 5 editors in India who are working for making the data citable, for making the data relevant enough. What are the next steps? How can we take this forward? Open Data Index and Open National Census. We can work in tandem with the national census, Indian National Census. Additional countries, we can bring in more countries, come to the forefront from being 26th in the world to being 10th in the world in the span of 1 year because of Open Knowledge India. The data sets have been opened, by the government officials nonetheless, but our volunteers, our workers, our professionals have been working tirelessly to make the data open. And in India, we have this upward movement, as you can see from the graph. This is Open Data Portal in India. This is run by the Indian government. As you can see, it's the website address is data.gov.in. This is run by the Ministry of Statistics in India, right? And this also runs on CKAN and a similar software. This is the India Open Data Census. We are not only concerned about countries, we are concerned about the local governments. We are concerned about the cities, the various Indian cities. As you can see from the slide, all the major Indian cities are here. You have Delhi, you have New Delhi, you have Kolkata, you have Mumbai, you have Ahmedabad, you have Bangalore. And, actually, it's Bengaluru now, not Bangalore. And Mumbai also is there, Hyderabad is there. It's another good news for the city of joy that Kolkata ranks first in the survey, but it should not congratulate yourselves as of now because we have a long way to go. As you can see from the survey, none of the data sets anywhere in India is open, is 100% open. But Kolkata is way ahead of everyone, as you can see from the score. Kolkata has a total score of 620. Delhi has a total score of 475. Bengaluru has 460, Hyderabad has 390, Mumbai is 385, Chennai is 290, and Ahmedabad is actually making up the bottom part of the list now, as of now. Hopefully that is going to change. This is the open data portal that we run. This runs on CKAN. This is the data hub that we have in India. This is run by Open Knowledge India. As you can see, there are 101 data sets already opened here. All the key data sets, related to your, vital statistics of the Indian population are present there. You have the forest cover data, you have the transport data, you have the finance data, you have the business data, you have the governance data, you have everything in that data hub. But the list should grow. It's 101. From 101 in 1 year, it should go to at least 1,001. Then only I can say that progress is being made. what is CKN? I have been talking about CKN. What is CKN? The CKN is the software, is not only the software, the package that is the engine, the driving force behind this open movement, and it's being used by everyone, actually, all the countries in the world, all the governments in the world. What is CKN? The full form is Comprehensive Knowledge Archive Network, written in Python. As I was talking about, the language in which it is written is Python. Actually, being an open source software, as an open source package, even a person on the street is open to edit it, editing it. But obviously it's going to be reviewed, so there cannot be a sabotage. CKN, the world's leading open source data portal platform. CKN is a powerful data management system that makes data accessible by providing tools to streamline publishing, sharing, finding, and using data. CKN is aimed at data publishers, national and regional governments, companies, and organizations wanting to make their data open and available. I was talking about the governments, not only governments, but the big companies, the big media houses, the big, in Europe and in USA, in the Americas and in Europe, pardon me, and in Australia also. They use CKN not only in the government, but in the companies, but actually everywhere, in the local, at the local level, in the local governments, everywhere. And that is what is going to happen in India too, if we want to see real progress. Only talking is not going to help anybody. It's code-based. Its code base is maintained by the Open Knowledge Foundation. Actually, there's a repository, an open repository called the GitHub. And anybody who is working on software know about GitHub. GitHub is an open repository where you can actually deposit the software that you make. CKN is actually placed there. The system is used both as a public platform on DataHub and in various government data catalogs, such as the UK's data.gov.uk, the Dutch National Data Register, the United States government's data.gov. Actually, data.gov was the first open data platform that was run by the government, by any government in the world. And the Australian government's Gov 2.0. South Australian state government has also joined the ranks of many jurisdictions worldwide in making government data freely accessible to the public on CKN platform. Not only do they use CKN, they have actually made legislature, that is acts. They have performed movements in their own parliaments or in their own system of governance, where they have made acts in order to incorporate CKN as part of their open data and open statistics endeavor. And a brief introduction to CKN. It's widely used open source, powerful and flexible. The one of the main strengths of CKN is that it's very flexible. It can be used in any way you want. It can be modeled in any way that you want. Open source, autonomy. Being open source gives you autonomy. Zero lock-in, customability. Dozens of CKN deployments around the world, as you can see. International and Transparent Initiative, data.gov.uk, data.norge.no, that's Norway, data.gov.europeana, that's European Union, data.gov.us. So these are the few governments, as I was talking about, that use CKN. This is the data.gov.uk. As we had seen the Indian portal, the Indian Open Data Portal run by the Government of India. This is the Open Data Portal that is run by the Government of UK, United Kingdom. And there are 817 results that you can see here. They have all the key data sets related to the United Kingdom, that is England, Scotland, and Ireland combined. This is the Brazilian one. As you can see, dados.gov.br, this is the Brazilian government's initiative. This one also runs on the CKN platform. This is the Buenos Aires Data Initiative. This is the Argentinian one. The Argentinian Data Initiative that runs on CKAN. This is the European Union's one. The whole of the European Union's data is here. It's actually here. Publicdata.eu. It's in the beta stage, but now it's actually in the alpha stage. And this one also runs on CKAN. Publishing and authoring, including data upload and metadata management. It's actually very, very easy to use CKN. It's nothing technical about using CKN. Obviously there are the more technical parts, but if you talk about just using it, it's very easy to use. Anybody who is conversant with a bit of internet, a bit of the computers, can actually use CKN. It's so easy to use. It's so flexible. And there is another point called the metadata management. Metadata is very important. Metadata are the keywords, the chunks of data, the chunks of information that is actually crawled by Google and other search engines. When let's say you search on Google and type India, how does Google work? How does Google search for India? It crawls the net, it crawls the internet in real time, and it brings up the results that has the metadata relating to India, and it has a rank algorithm. Google is different from all other Google actually was different, now everybody uses. Google was different from every other search engine, talking about Alta Vista and all, AOL and all. In those days, in 2006, we had AOL, Alta Vista, etc. It was different because it had that rank correlation algorithm that used to rank the results in accordance to their relevance. So metadata is very important. Now this is how you add a data set to CKAN. You can see how easy it is. You go to the title, you type in your dataset's name, you go to the URL that houses the dataset, you input that, you provide a license, a relevant license. Mostly the push is to provide a CCO license, as I was talking about. It's the most open license possible. Description, and then you go add. That's it. Metadata. This is how CKN takes care of the metadata that you are using. Title allows intuitive labeling of the dataset for search, sharing, and linking. Unique identifier. Dataset has a unique URL which is customizable by the publisher. Description, additional information describing or analyzing the data. This can either be static or an editable wiki, which anyone can contribute to instantly or via admin moderation. A revision history. CKN allows you to display a revision history for datasets which are freely editable by users, as it is the datahub.org. Data preview. Preview.csv data quickly and easily in browser to see if this is the dataset that you want. You can actually look at the dataset and preview it before uploading it properly, and before you are happy about the upload that you made. Extra fields. These hold any additional information such as location data, see geospatial feature, or types relevant to the publisher or dataset. How and where extra fields display is customizable. Resource editor allows you to add additional information to each data file. Edit resources, itset. Now this is the inside of the CKN, actually the outside of the inside of CKN, not the inside, because the inside you cannot see like this. It's all codes. Everything that you can see is code. Everything that you're running on your phones, everything that you're running on your Facebook. Everybody is very much in favor of Facebook nowadays. Facebook is nothing but codes. Everything is code. The world runs on codes. Name. Take the example of this data set. It has the name of domestic energy use in Britain. So this data set relates to the use of energy in Britain, the whole of Britain. New data from Department of Energy and Climate Change measures residential gas and electricity use for tiny areas, middle layers, super output area in England and Wales, and Intermediate Geography Zone in Scotland. Each has, you can use markdown formatting here. There you can use a markdown formatting. The URL is given there. It's HTTPS, that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol if you don't know about it. Docs.google.com, it's a spreadsheet, so there's a key, 0A, O, and Y, Z, different key sets has different keys. Full change history. Say if you upload a data set, later somebody or even you want to edit the data set, want to upload a different version of the data set, how are you going to do it? CKN takes care about that too. You can just go to the data set, you can just go to the data set on CKN, look at the data set and make the necessary changes. It's that simple. Search API and metadata standards. Now without APIs, you cannot actually use much of data. All the apps that you see, all the apps that you run on your mobile phones are actually APIs, are actually codes that are made for your platform that you're using. So search APIs and metadata standards. Keyword and faceted search via web interface and API. CKN provides a rich search experience which allows to quick Google-style keyword search as well as faceting by tags and browsing between related datasets. Now what we mean is, I was talking about the search engines like Google and all. Excuse me. Okay, sorry for the break. Actually, CKN has a search style like Google, and you can actually search for the data set that you're trying to find. This is another example of the European Union data set. The European Union Open Data Platform run by the European government that runs on CKN, made by the Open Knowledge. This is, as you can see from the map, this is the map of England, and this is the data set. These are the data sets for publicdata.eu, not of the, it's not run by the government of UK, but it's run by the government of Europe, the European Commission. Full catalog API, providing read, write, and query access to dataset metadata and much more. Can anybody tell me how, when you submit forms to a place like, say Facebook, when you open an account, how does Facebook know that you have opened an account? Can anybody tell me? No hands? Okay. It's actually written in Perl and Ruby, and they have a list. They have a list, to put it very non-technically. They have a list. They build a list. They build the codes. All codes are zeros and ones, series of zeros and ones. They build the codes, and it looks something like this. This is a Linux platform that they're using, an open source platform that they're using, and they're building the API from that, from scratch. Standard support and federation. We support DCAT and helped define it. DCAT is the in thing, is actually the primary engine that drives open data movements in the world now. It's again supported by all the major corporations, corporate corporations obviously, and the governments, the civil society organizations all over the world. And actually we helped define this DCAT, D category. Sophisticated harvesting and federation allows interpolability and metadata sharing between catalogs. So we can actually harvest data because, say to anybody in this room, if I just give out the codes, if I just give out the data set for the mortality rate in India. Now, mortality rate is something we are all concerned about. The number of people dying each moment as we speak in India is called the mortality rate. Now, as we have the mortality rate data here, not many people will understand. It's not usable by everyone, right? So unless you can make it usable by everyone by visualizing it. Visualization is one of the ways of making data accessible and usable by everyone. Viewing, sharing, displaying, and social media features. We will skip a few slides because these are non-relevant for our purpose. Okay, with CKN you can easily add custom content and pages. As I told you, it's very flexible. It is used by all the governments. How? Because they can actually edit CKN, they can actually upload and customize CKN to their liking. Easy to theme and customize the appearance. The ultimate, we talked about a few examples. We talked about the European Commission Open Data Platform, the Indian Open Data Platform, the Brazilian Open Data Platform, the UK Open Data Platform, the US Open Data Platform. All of them run on the CKN, but all looks different. How? Because all are customizable. All can have different themes. All are customizable to the liking of the producers. Interfaces are available in over 18 languages. Now, CKN is not used only in English. It's used in all these languages that are listed here. English, Dutch, Espanol, that is Spanish, French, Italian, Dutch, Polish, Romanian, Slovenian, Katala, Russian, Korean, the Vietnamese, then it's the I don't know what this is. I have forgotten actually. Sorry for that. Norwegian, the Brazilian, the Portuguese Brazil, and it's also available in Hindi. It's also available in the Devanagari script because Nepalese government is actually using CKN to open up their data. And it's sad to say, in many respects, Nepal and Bangladesh are ahead of us. Being small countries, even after being small countries, and even after we being a very large country and a very powerful country in this region, our open data movement is actually lagging behind Bangladesh, even Bangladesh and Nepal in many respects. Actually, I want to tell you a story. I went to Berlin to attend the Open Knowledge Festival 2014, as I told you, last year that is. And I was the ambassador from India. I met the ambassador from Cameroon. Now, the Cameroonian ambassador was talking about the use of resources in this country. He was saying, you have such a large country, you have such a huge skilled population set, then why then are you lagging behind? I said, people are not waking up. People are not waking up. You can look at the attendance today. We are having a major conference today, and still the attendance reflects very poorly on India. And I would like to thank everyone who has actually attended. Okay, we are not going into details anymore. We are just going to watch a few more videos, and then we will conclude our ceremony. Now we are going to see a video where Eric Hassan is one of the major people who is working at Google, who will be talking about open data. He attended the festival. He is talking about open data. He is from Google.
I just want to ask you, so to have you here at Open Knowledge Festival has been fantastic. One, I just want to ask you a bit about that. What have you found? What have you liked about it?
Yeah, this has been great. This is my first Open Knowledge Festival. I'm thrilled by just how many different people there are, how many different organizations and countries are represented. I don't think I've ever been at an event in our space where we have 50 countries, people that are doing everything from the more traditional open government work that I'm used to open science and physical hacking, and that's I think it's great to have this chance to step a little further outside of our comfort zone and be challenged by both how things are different across the world and also by how what we're doing relates or follows or doesn't follow what other open movements have done.
Yeah, no, I really think of that as like kind of crossing the streams, but in the good way, unlike Ghostbusters. So one of the things, your talk was really fascinating. You just come off stage, as it were. you talked a lot about like the key, while we've made a huge amount of progress, is it were one of the things we kind of have is very limited infrastructure. We've kind of had a few great examples, but at the moment we don't have stuff like, we don't have the roads.
Right.
What are kind of key things that you're looking to see, that you want to see happen in the next kind of few years, and that you particularly and your team are looking to kind of push forward on?
Yeah, so our team's big push is for a couple of small, of the specific domains that we're really interested in. We're going to be very active in looking at, can we work with groups to set some common data formats, say around data in elections, around representation. But more than that, that's a lot of work, and we don't really want to be involved. We don't need to be involved in every single data standards process, but I think that's where lightweight work around interoperable identifiers can come in. So can we come together as a community, think about what are the few elements where you really want to see joins between data. So we've started that with political districts. So if we have one data set that is, this person is the representative in this district, another data set that is, this is the census data, the demographic data about this district. We can now connect them more easily. That was the easy first step. Now it's how do we do that on people, on organizations, on bills, and just that alone, that sounds very boring and techy, but I think it's can unlock so many new uses of this data that we aren't able to think about today because we're just stuck with one level of separation from the data to the user.
Right, and I mean, I know we also, in fact, a collaboration with you around budgets.
Yes.
It's another area where, following the money, you'd think most of the questions people want to ask sadly turn out not to be answered by a single data set. You want to connect contracts with spending or with budgets and so on. So I think it's a really, and it is one of those challenges at the moment, which is sometimes people think, hey, we've got this open data, but they don't realize why at the moment we're not maybe getting some of the payoffs we'd like to see because it's that next step. And so I think one of the other things you were talking about was kind of the ecosystem and the community. I mean, obviously, just to say, your thanks to support from Google, this event has made possible. It's one of those examples where we're connecting together different groups. Are there other things that you think one can be doing there?
Yeah, I mean, we're thrilled to be help make events like this possible. But I think we also think we, along with groups like Open Knowledge, are in this unique spot of being these international organizations that cut across the individual efforts taking place in different countries. So we want to do more to, a lot of this can be informal, but just bringing together people that are talking.
Interconnecting people,
and
rather than just data sets.
Exactly, yes. And I think we had this great session yesterday on global elections where we had no idea that people from 20 countries were here, that were all working on very similar projects around elections. And as a result of that, we'll start a mailing list. It's a very lightweight solution, but have some conversations. Maybe that can lead to more communities that we can plug more people into around what's worked, both in terms of code, but one of the points that Justin asked about Justin Ehrenstein asked about in the keynote was not just what works technically, but what works procedurally. So how do we share stories and get people talking about, this is how I engage successfully around an election, this is how I engage successfully around a budget. We're excited to help do what we can to do more of that.
I think absolutely. I mean, it always reminds me. We always say that open has like a social, a social, legal, and technical dimension. It's the social that's often the hardest by a long way. So that's a key. I mean, building a standard is actually most of the work. It's not the technical work of like what is actually in it, but getting buy-in from everyone involved. I thought one last thing I wanted to come to that I thought was really powerful in your talk was you kind of talked at the very beginning of just. What kind of resonated with you was about what open data was. You kind of said people quite a lot are saying like, hey, this is open data, but in fact, vis-a-vis the open definition, they're not doing machine readable, they're not actually even doing openly licensed. And that was great to see those statistics. Is there anything that we could be doing therefore to kind of push out the open definition? Or, I mean, for us, the other thing we see is the proliferation of licenses.
Yes.
Is there any way that one could be collaborating to say, look, open means openness in the definition, and here we give you, do we give you a badge? Do we bug you in some way, in the same way we've had with open source? How do we, license choose on GitHub? What can we do to be driving more compliance with the open definition when people, we don't want to be talking about open data and it's not actually open data.
Yeah, and I think, Open Knowledge has been one of the strongest proponents of this, and
time has come.
It's time, yeah. It's tough. There's no one thing to make this work, and it's I think one is just talking more about it, saying more, particularly as as a company like Google, we can say things like we believe in open data, but it's harder for us to get into the details like today of what exactly does that mean. So I think we hope we can be a little more vocal about it. But also, I think there are ways in which we should be doing more to recognize the people that are doing well.
Yes.
You get the political points for opening data. You don't necessarily get the same political and PR rewards for fully understanding the open definition. And I think that's something where we could think more about how do we all reward that, because it's too easy to have a hackathon say that's your reward for opening up some data when it's not enough. I talked to Arjen from the Open State Foundation in the Netherlands, and he had this great model of they only consider hackathons as a reward for doing work in the right way. And I think as a community we can do more of that.
We can do more of that Rakesh. Well, I want to say, so one is just thank you again. I think this has been great, and we look forward to, I hope you'll be back. I hope this has been fantastic. I hope next year, wherever it is, we hope you'll be back. It's been fantastic having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That concludes our day. Actually, we would have liked to see a larger turnout, that goes without saying. But yeah, we are thankful for the few individuals who made their time and attended the festival, the conference, the summit, as you can say. And these are the few handful of people who have actually decided not to be Erasmus. They have actually decided that they are the ones who are going to take India forward. We talked about Erasmus, the Latin scholar, the Latin medieval scholar who was against books, the free dissemination of knowledge. The few people that have attended today's conference are actually the ones who are going to make all the changes, all the positive changes, and take this country forward. On that note, I'm going to conclude the India Open Data Summit 2015. It's Shubhajit Ganguly signing out. Thank you very much.